We all know that movies based on video games suck, but what about the movies that feature video games as the main plot line? Coming up on the Big Retro Show. The 80s and 90s were great times to be a kid. Join me as I dive into the world of movies, music, video games and toys, and explore what made these decades so great. This is the Big Retro Show. Hey, what's up you guys? This is Los from the Big Retro Show, and today I'm mixing it up a little bit. Today's episode has to do with movies in which the video game plays a central role in the plot. And in some of the movies that I'm going to be talking about, the video game is actually as important as one of the main actors. So let's go ahead and get into it. The very first movie I'm going to talk about is one that you've probably already seen. That's right, let's talk about the classic video game movie that really isn't a video game movie, The Wizard. Released in 1989 and starring Fred Savage and Christian Slater, The Wizard was about a boy named Jimmy Woods, who after the death of his twin sister was experiencing some mental health problems. Jimmy was withdrawn and in a mental institution where he was being treated for PTSD. That boy Jimmy is hell-bent on visiting my home state of California, and who can blame him? Who wouldn't want to visit California? Am I right? Anywho, Jimmy is locked up in a mental institution getting treated for PTSD. That is until his big brother, played by Fred Savage, breaks him out, and the two head over to my state from Green River, Utah. While on the journey at a bus station, big brother Corey discovers that Jimmy has a natural talent for video games. Jimmy plays Double Dragon and got a score of 50,000 to the amazement of his older brother. A girl named Haley, played by Jenny Lewis, overhears their plans to visit California and more importantly, the mega score of Jimmy's on Double Dragon. She bets that she can get a higher score at Jimmy at Double Dragon and gets smoked by the Wizard, aka Jimmy. The kids make a plan to get Jimmy to sunny California to compete in Video Armageddon, which is a competition that would cement the fact that Jimmy has no mental health issues whatsoever. Somehow. I don't know. And earn him hella cash. Along the way, the trio get robbed by some dudes they were getting a ride from, and put Jimmy's awesome video game skills to work by hustling people out of their money by beating them at video games. There are many memorable scenes in the movie, including the time that Jimmy meets the main competition for his tournament. He meets Lucas, the baddest video game player and Power Glove user in the entire world. To the amazement of the audience, Lucas busts out the Power Glove in this memorable scene and basically tears Rad Racer a new asshole. He also tears a new asshole into the confidence of Jimmy, because when it was Jimmy's turn to get on Rad Racer, he bitched out. After seeing Lucas and his Power Glove, Jimmy gets so intimidated he refuses to face him. That is until the final showdown at Video Armageddon. The two face off in a never-before-seen Super Mario Bros. Part 3. So another favorite scene in this movie is when Jimmy and Corey's father and brother, played by Beau Bridges and Christian Slater, are holed up in a hotel room, and they start playing Nintendo because they're super bored. Well, they play Nintendo through the entire night, and when the Christian Slater character wakes up, he sees the dad on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the dad is so happy because he almost beat the boss on level 3. Now, what's not to love about that? Let's face it though, The Wizard was an advertisement for mostly Nintendo, and in particular coincided with the release of Super Mario Bros. Street. Not long after the movie released, the game released as well, and I remember playing the game and thinking about the famous battle at the end between Lucas and Jimmy. The Wizard was a moderate box office success, but was panned by critics for being an advertisement for Nintendo and Universal Studios, where the Video Armageddon competition took place. It gained a cult-like status among gamers though. Next up, let's talk about the 1982 classic in which a video game plays a major role. Let's talk about some Tron. A young Jeff Bridges takes on an evil computer program, drunk with power and self-awareness. Bridges plays the role of a hacker/arcade owner who is trying to hack into his former company's mainframe to dig up some evidence of plagiarism and expose a corporate bigwig who he claims used his code to rise to power. The evil program, called MCP, which is short for Master Control Program, has all of the programs locked down in the building. Flynn is aided by his friends Alan and Laura, who help Flynn sneak into the company and hack into the mainframe. But the evil program zaps Flynn with a laser and imports him into the mainframe to play video games. The MCP orders his right-hand man, Zark, to train Flynn in the art of warfare and make him think he has a chance before destroying him. Flynn befriends other programs in the game, a security program called Tron and another program named RAM, and hatch a plan with them to take out MCP. One of the best scenes in the movie is a light cycle race in which Flynn, Ram, and Tron escape from MCP's goons. The scene was really a testament to the technology of the time because it married Hollywood magic with computer technology of the time, mainly CGI. Being a hacker, Flynn uses his programming skills to manipulate the world inside the mainframe, which turns out to be key in defeating MCP. This film was memorable not only for its cinematic brilliance but for the tremendous marketing surrounding it. Disney really put a lot of effort into the marketing of this film and made a toy line and arcade game to keep the magic going. I remember wanting the light cycles for this movie and never being able to get them. I used to love playing the arcade game even though the controller was a bit funky. Whenever I see it out in the wild, I make sure to put a few quarters in it. Home consoles, including the Atari 2600 and Intellivision, to name a couple, also got some Tron love. Now in 2010, Tron received a sequel. Now I haven't seen the sequel yet, and yes, bad on me, because I haven't seen it. But if you have seen it, let me know in the comments and let me know how you liked it. Up next, we talk about a movie that shows us the true danger of video games and technology. Also the fun. War Games, starring a young Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy, was one of the best movies of the 1980s. Released in 1983, this drama told the story of a hotshot young hacker and gamer who got more than he bargained for when he hacked into the US military's supercomputer, known as War Operation Plan Response. Whopper for short. Matthew Broderick's character, David Lightman, has previously used his hacking skills for dumb stuff, like changing his grades and gaining the friendship of Ali Sheedy's character named Jennifer. One night, while he was cold calling hundreds of numbers to see if his computer could access them, he accidentally hacks into Whopper and discovers that he can play some video games with it. Would it be chess, checkers, backgammon, poker, or Falcons mains that would stir the teens' interest? How about global thermonuclear war? While David thinks that Whopper is just playing a video game, Whopper thinks it's an actual war taking place and gets ready to start World War III by launching missiles at Russia. Whopper doesn't know that the game is a game and thinks it's actually being attacked by Russia. It continues the simulation and pushes staff at NORAD to the brink. It basically tries starting World War III, all because of a teenager and his love of video games. It's not long before the feds swoop in on David and charge him with espionage. David eventually escapes from the feds and searches for Dr. Falcon, the scientist who created the artificial intelligence used in Whopper, and recruits him to help stop the simulation. Yes, I'll take a Whopper with extra artificial intelligence and a side of fries. This was a troubling movie back in the day because it dealt with nuclear war. During the 80s, the Cold War was still very much alive, and the movie reminded everyone of the dangers of nuclear war with Russia that they experienced too well during the 60s and the 70s. Part of what made this movie so cool was the main character, David. I mean, he was just one of us. He was a gamer, he was a hacker, he was trying to get a girlfriend by changing her grades. I mean, what's not to love about this guy? And Matthew Broderick played this character pretty much perfectly. I think that all gamers can relate to wanting to beat a computer by either playing a video game against it and beating it that way, or by hacking it and bending it to your will. Matthew Broderick received some excellent support from Dabney Coleman, who is the guy who convinced the military to give Whopper control of launching nuclear missiles and taking the human element out of it. In this movie, we all rooted for David. We wanted him to win, basically because he was one of us. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. It is one of the best movies of the 1980s. This movie actually got a video game port to the ColecoVision. Now, back in the day, I used to see this video game all the time at KB Toys, where I would, go buy toys and video games. But I never picked it up. I never had the interest to buy it. but I wish I did. I would love to play that game today. Sadly, War Games did not get a sequel. It catapulted the careers of Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy, so I guess that's great. So Dabney Coleman is a star of another movie on this list, a movie that I used to watch all the time as a kid. Let's talk about Cloak and Dagger. I remember watching Cloak and Dagger as a kid and loving it. The movie stars Henry Thomas as Davy, a boy who copes with the pain of the loss of his mother by playing video games and talking to his imaginary friend, Jack Flack, played by Dabney Coleman. Davy lives in a fantasy world he has created in which Jack Flack is a hero. He pretends to go on secret missions along with his friend Kim, and they basically look for adventure. While visiting his friend Morris, who owns a video game shop, Morris sends Davy and Kim out on a secret mission of obtaining him a catalog and some Twinkies. While on his mission, Davy witnesses someone get murdered. Right before the dude is going to die, he gives Davy an Atari 5200 cartridge, Cloak and Dagger, which contains important military secrets. While leaving the building where the murder took place, Davy leaves his ball there with his name on it, giving the spies enough of a lead to go on and get the cartridge back from him. Police bring Davy back home and the audience learns that Davy's father is also Dabney Coleman. Davy uses his dad's likeness to conjure up his imaginary friend Jack Flack. Anxious to show his dad that he is not seeing things when he saw the man get murdered, he plugs Cloak and Dagger into his good old Atari and attempts to find secrets in the video game. When he barely gets to level 2, his father tells him to turn off the game and go to bed. Davy responds by telling his dad he hates him. Ah, the joys of parenthood. Davy spends the movie running from the psycho spies who are out to get the cartridge back. The Cloak and Dagger cartridge is a critical part of the movie's plot. The footage of Cloak and Dagger used in the movie comes from the arcade version of Cloak and Dagger. The Atari 5200 game was never complete. So if you love Atari, especially Atari 5200, this is the movie for you to watch. I mean, the game features a 5200 cartridge in it as a prominent plot point. I remember watching this movie and thinking, you know, I'm never going to trust an old person again, because in the movie there's an old couple who befriends Davy. Davy totally trusts them because why not? They're so sweet and they're old. But it turns out that they are the nefarious spies that are really after the government's secrets, and they are wicked. The old couple steal the cartridge from Davy and plan to board a plane to Mexico, and it's up to Davy and Jack Flack to stop them. Sadly, this movie did not get a video game tie-in and faded from everyone's memory. The movie didn't do too bad at the box office, although it could have done a lot better. Okay guys, I got 2 more movies for you. And the next movie that I'm going to talk about is one that you guys have probably seen but nobody ever talks about. But that's going to change right now. Let's talk about The Last Starfighter. 1984 was a great year for movies in which video games played a big role. The Last Starfighter, starring Lance Guest as the film's protagonist Alex Rogan, is an epic film about a teenager from the trailer parks who is looking to get out of them and make a better life for himself. Alex has dreams of going to college, and in between hanging out with his girlfriend Maggie, played by Catherine Mary Stewart, and doing chores around the trailer park, Alex spends his free time on Starfighter, the lone arcade cabinet in the ratty trailer park. Alex is good, damn good at the game. So good even that during one scene of the movie, he has the entire trailer park rooting him on as he gets the high score on Starfighter. That's something that will never happen in real life. But this is the movie and this is Hollywood, so we'll go with it. Alex is a good kid though, and he applied for a student loan to go to college. After all, he doesn't want to be the trailer park's handyman for the rest of his life. Alas, poor Alex doesn't get to savor the victory over Starfighter long. After he finally gets home from kicking ass at Starfighter, his mother informs him his student loan application was denied. Crushed, Alex takes a stroll outside to get some fresh air and pout. That's when things get interesting for Alex, as he sees a futuristic car roll up to the trailer park driven by an old dude named Centauri. Centauri informs Alex that he is the creator of Starfighter, and he is looking for the guy who got the high score earlier that night. Alex eventually learns that the Starfighter arcade is really a test that is designed to find the best pilots in the galaxy. The person who gets the high score in the game is fit to defend the alien planet Rylos that Centauri hails from. Rylos is at war with the evil Kodan Empire, who is hell-bent on its destruction. Centauri tells Alex that they need to talk about a matter of utmost importance. That's when Alex steps into Centauri's car and shakes hands with Beta. a clone of Alex who is to take his place while he's kicking real-life alien ass on Rylos. Centauri tells Alex he has a great opportunity for him, and since Alex's dreams of going to college are crushed by the denial letter, he figures he has nothing to lose and he agrees. Little does he know that Centauri is really an alien and is going to try to recruit Alex to fight in the war as a Starfighter pilot. At first, Alex is reluctant to fight in a real-life war, especially one in which he was safely winning against the arcade cabinet. Centauri takes him back to his trailer park, but it's too late. The Kodan Empire has learned of the new gifted recruit and sends assassins to try to kill Alex. With the help of Beta, the Alex clone, and Centauri, who returns after Alex calls him using a futuristic beeper, they take out the assassins sent to kill Alex. Alex then agrees to fight against the Kodan Empire alongside of an alien dude named Grig. Together, the two take on the Kodan Empire using the ship's ultimate weapon, the Death Blossom. Like Tron, The Last Starfighter was one of the first movies to make heavy use of CGI. The CGI used back then is charming, but in my opinion, inferior to the models that were used in films like Star Wars. But that doesn't take away from the movie, I still find it enjoyable. I want to make a special mention of the Rylans. They are all balding. Pretty weird as aliens go, but hey, I guess that must have been part of their charm. At any rate, this is another movie that turns a video game into a main plotline, and a movie every gamer should watch at least once. Sadly, this movie did not get an official video game based on it. There was a fan version of the game made, however, but I haven't played it, so I don't know if it's any good. Have any of you? If so, is it any good? Lastly, guys, I'm going to talk about a movie that you won't expect to be on this list. And that's because it's not really a movie at all. It's part of a movie. It's one of 4 short stories in the cult classic horror film Nightmares. In Bishop of Battle, which is the second short story in Nightmares, Emilio Estevez plays JJ, a street-smart kid who hustles money in arcade rooms by pretending he sucks at video games and betting people who are dumb enough to believe it. Things get rocky for JJ as he attempts to hustle a gang member while playing a game and is recognized to be one of the best video game players around. JJ and his friend Zoc narrowly escape an ass whipping at the arcade and get into an argument about JJ's apparent obsession with playing video games. I know none of us know anything about that. The two split up for the day and JJ heads to the arcade to try to get to level 13 in the Bishop of Battle arcade game, a notoriously hard arcade game that nobody has beat yet. But with fresh coin in his pocket after hustling gang members, JJ decides to give it a go. JJ is treated like a rock star at the local arcade, and he proceeds to take on the Bishop of Battle in his epic quest of getting to level 13. He eventually is foiled when the arcade manager kicks everyone out to close up for the night. Not to be deterred, our hero breaks into the arcade at night to take on the Bishop with sinister results. Now, I won't spoil the ending because this movie is too great to miss, but I will tell you that JJ is successful in his efforts. The question is, did he really want to be? And that's going to do it for the Big Retro Show today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know there are some movies that I missed, but these are my all-time favorites. And if you have an all-time favorite movie in which a video game plays a major role, not a movie based on a video game, leave it down in the comments and let me know. Until the next one, I will see you on the next Big Retro Show.